This is Project Audion, timeless audio dramas for modern times, created the classic way.
Hello, I'm Larry Groby with the Generic Radio Workshop. You know, there are a few classic audio dramas that have reached a greater degree of popularity and appreciation today than they ever did when they were on the air. And I think you can include our show for today, yours truly, Johnny Dollar, in that group. I mean, it's a great premise for what is basically a detective show. An insurance investigator who can travel anywhere to solve a case and save his clients money. And starting in 1949, it was a regular on the airwaves for 13 years. But in all that time, it never even cracked the top 20 in ratings. And yet, today, yours truly, Johnny Dollar, counts more audio drama fans than more popular shows of the 1940s and 50s. For example, the FBI in Peace and War, Mr. Keen, Tracer of Lost Persons, My Little Margie, or Treasury Agent. Those are some examples. And Johnny Dollar did stay on the airwaves until September 30th, 1962, the so-called end of the golden age of radio, which is a bit of an overstatement, but it's still a good marker to put on the calendar, as by then, radio had long been replaced in people's nightly plans by television. But as they say, there's more to the story. Did you know that in Iran, of all places, they took the character of Johnny Dollar and created their own version? It ran through the 1960s and 70s, and just this year, another new version of Johnny Dollar is playing again on Iranian state radio, evidently to middle-aged Iranians remembering the sleuth of their youth. Back here in America, you can catch the fabulous freelance insurance investigator regularly on satellite radio. Johnny Dollar's also been turned into a cybercrime investigator in a new series of graphic novels. And Project Audion is pleased to present an Audion original script written by Patrick Keating. This script really recreates the format of the 1950s originals, right down to his ringing telephone and his typed-up expense account. So yeah, more beloved than ever, certainly more so than My Little Margie or Mr. Keen. It's time for Project Audion's transcontinental cast to call upon Johnny Dollar. From Hollywood, it's time now for
Johnny Dollar.
Kelly Damiani here, Johnny.
Hiya, Kelly. How's Houston?
Could be better. Interested in a case?
You bet. My bank account's emptier than a politician's promises. What's up?
I need your help.
I'll be out on the earliest flight.
Tonight, from Hollywood, the adventures of the man with the action-packed expense account, that fabulous freelance insurance investigator,
Yours truly, Johnny Dollar. Expense accounts submitted by Special Investigator Johnny Dollar to the Damiani Company, Houston, Texas. The following is a list of expenditures incurred during my investigation of the Damiani Diamond Matter. Item number 1, $75 airfare from Hartford to Houston. Item number 2, 60 cents. Taxi to the downtown offices of the Damiani Company. Kelly greeted me at the door and ushered me into a medium-sized office decorated with various softball memorabilia. I've known Kelly Damiani for about 5 years, ever since she helped me solve the Hans Sachs case. Actually, helped isn't the right word. If not for her insights, the case might still be unsolved. Not bad for a former softball star and recent college graduate with no training as an investigator. If she needs help, I'm there.
Thanks for coming on such short notice, Johnny. I appreciate it.
I owe you one. So what's the situation?
Well, a few years ago, I formed the Damiani Company with a couple business partners. One of the programs of the Damiani Company is the Damiani Diamond.
Ah, the softball training camp. I remember reading about that a while back. Is that what this is about?
Yes. I don't know how familiar you are with it, but the Damiani Diamond program is designed for girls age 8 to 16. It teaches them teamwork, sportsmanship, and helps them feel a part of something larger than themselves. In the 2 years the program's been running, it's been very successful. Some of the girls in the program have gained so much self-confidence that they've improved academically as well.
So what's the problem?
Last week, my partners authorized the sale of the Damiani Diamond and the development of office buildings on the site. Any such decisions require the agreement of all partners. My signature was forged on the documents authorizing the sale.
Any idea who did it?
I know exactly who did it. Unfortunately, I don't have any proof. I need you to find it.
No problem. Give me a list of names and I'll get right on it.
A list? But I told you who's behind it.
Just in case your initial suspicion turns out to be wrong, whom do you suspect?
Stephen Wilbert, one of my partners and a former softball player himself. He's made it clear on numerous occasions that he considers the Damiani Diamond program a waste of time because it doesn't generate a significant profit. I didn't start this program to get rich, Johnny. I started it to help young girls build self-confidence. Besides, the other Damiani Company programs do quite well, profit-wise.
And you think this Wilbert character isn't satisfied with your current profit levels? But if you know he forged your signature, why not just call the police? Why bring me into it?
Involving the police would also involve undue publicity, which could have negative ramifications on another business venture I'm trying to get off the ground. I'm a woman competing in the male-dominated field of business. I feel as if vultures are constantly circling overhead, while a sword of Damocles hangs above me, ready to provide them with their meal. There's no way I'll let rivals and competitors pick at the bones of the Damiani Company, Johnny, and I won't let any of my projects be sabotaged.
The look on Kelly's face was a mixture of determination and defiance. She may be young, but that look said she wouldn't let anyone intimidate her. I'd seen that aura of determination during the Hans Sachs matter. Sachs had been a friend and mentor to her, and when he had been falsely accused of embezzlement, Kelly had taken it personally. She'd done some digging on her own and had uncovered the key evidence that proved his innocence. Kelly wrote down a list of names of people with the most to gain from the sale of the Damiani Diamond and thrust it into my hand. I assured her I'd find the person responsible for the forgery. She took the list back and circled Stephen Wilbert's name, which she'd put at the top.
Start here.
Item number 3, 75 cents. I took a taxi to the offices of Russell Walter, attorney at law. Walter handled legal matters for the Damiani Company and would have copies of the papers allegedly authorizing the sale of the Damiani Diamond. Despite Kelly's insistence that I go straight to Stephen Wilbert, I thought it better to begin by following the paper trail. Kelly might very well be right in her suspicions. But she wasn't objective. I had to be, or at least as objective as possible where a friend is concerned. Still, my recognition of the need for objectivity didn't keep me from disliking Stephen Wilbert, sight unseen. I found myself hoping Mr. Walter could prove Kelly's suspicions were correct.
Mr. Dollar, isn't it? I got your message.
Russell Walter was a tall man in late middle age who affected an attitude of suave sophistication. He wasn't any better at it than I am at tap dancing.
You weren't entirely clear on what you wanted.
I explained to your secretary when I called, Mr. Walter. I want to see the papers authorizing the sale of the Damiani Diamond.
For what purpose?
To confirm their legitimacy.
I understand you're an insurance investigator. No one has filed an insurance claim regarding the property. I fail to see by what right you are involving yourself in this matter.
I was hired by Kelly Damiani herself. She tells me she didn't authorize the sale of the Damiani Diamond, that her signature was forged. So let's see those documents.
They're not here. They're kept in a safety deposit box at the bank. I'll have copies delivered to your hotel.
Why wait? Let's go now. I tossed Walter his hat and held the door for him. For a moment, It looked as if Walter was going to argue with me, but 15 minutes later, we were sitting in one of those small private rooms bank customers use to examine their valuables.
There you are. Well, you can see Kelly Damiani's signature as plain as day at the bottom of the first page.
Walter then launched into a diatribe about how typical it is for women to change their minds and that it was immature to have pretended not to have signed something. I'm sure he'd have sung a different tune if Kelly had heard him. You believe the signature is genuine?
Of course. I've seen it often enough to recognize it.
Even though Kelly told you it was a forgery?
She said that, yes, but it clearly isn't. She's just decided to change her mind, but can't admit it.
I don't think she'd be pleased to hear you talking that way. You are her attorney, after all.
I'm the attorney for the Damiani Company. There's a difference.
She's the head of the company, so I don't see any difference. If you can't be bothered to verify her signature, then I will. I reached for the papers, but Walter grabbed my arm.
You can't take those. The partners agreed important papers were not to leave these premises.
You mean papers like the ones you said you'd bring to my hotel room? I can look at them here for now. Or do you have a problem with my comparing signatures?
I resent the implication behind that statement.
Oh, I'm not implying anything, Mr. Walter. I'm just trying to do my job. It's curious, though, that you seem reluctant to do yours. Could your obvious disdain of Miss Damiani have caused you to let a forgery pass as the genuine article?
That, sir, is slander.
No, sir, it's a theory. Now, if you don't mind, one of us has some work to do. While Walter glared at me, I examined the various documents related to the Damiani Company. And after my meeting with the pleasant and agreeable Russell Walter, I took a taxi to Zachary's Place, a downtown restaurant where I had lunch. That's items 4 and 5, $2.85. As I ate lunch, I considered the documents I'd seen. Kelly's signature matched on all of them. The forger had done an excellent job. It would be difficult to prove the signature authorizing the sale of the Damiani Diamond wasn't genuine, but I was beginning to get an idea. I got out a notebook and pen and began writing. From Zachary's Place, I took a taxi to the office of Stephen Wilbert. That's item 6, 60 cents. In addition to being a partner in the Damiani Company, Wilbert also worked as a real estate agent. He was just finishing up a sale when his secretary announced me.
Mr. Wilbert, there's a Jimmy Dollar here to see you.
Oh, that's Johnny Dollar.
Whatever.
Does he have an appointment?
No, sir, but he said he was here about the Damiani Diamond.
Okay, show him in.
I walked into a medium-sized but well-appointed office. Wilbert, a man of about 30, who still had the athlete's build of his playing days, came around from behind his mahogany desk and grasped my hand.
Mr. Dollar, is it?
Yes, Mr. Wilbert, I'd like to talk to you about the Damiani Diamond.
Indeed. Have a seat, Mr. Dollar. You're from out east, aren't you? You have a bit of New York in your accent.
I'm from Hartford, Connecticut, but I used to work in New York.
Well, I was close. Give or take about 100 miles. I'm glad to hear of your interest in purchasing the Damiani Diamond, but I'm puzzled how you heard it would be for sale. There's been no public announcement.
I'm afraid there's been a misunderstanding. I've been hired by Kelly Damiani to look into the matter. She says her signature was forged on the documents authorizing the sale.
And that I had something to do with it, right?
Well, yes. She told me you consider the Damiani Diamond program to be a waste of time, that it doesn't generate enough profit.
That's true. It doesn't. But I didn't forge her signature. I don't operate that way. And I resent the implication.
Oh, I'm not implying anything, Mr. Wilbert. I'm investigating.
I was referring to Kelly's implication. She was an excellent softball player, but she lacks a certain degree of business acumen.
Huh. Everything I've read about the Damiani Diamond program suggests it has been very successful. I'd say Kelly has an excellent degree of business acumen.
It doesn't generate a profit, Dollar, and that's the reason any business exists. You'd think a man named Dollar would understand such things?
Please, no jokes. I had a problem a few years back with a rumor someone started that I tipped busboys and waiters with silver dollars.
Well, it'd be a good, if corny, way for people to remember your name. Good publicity is important for a business as well.
Seems to me. The Damiani Diamond was generating good publicity, and Kelly tells me the company's other programs were making a profit. Since you both agree that good publicity is important, why sell the Damiani Diamond property?
Things aren't as simple as you make them sound, Dollar. Nothing is quite what it seems, and no one is quite what they appear.
Meaning?
I'll explain it to you later this afternoon.
Why not now?
It'd take too long, and I really do need to finish up this paperwork.
All right, Mr. Wilbert. I'll be back at 2 o'clock. Just one thing.
Yes.
Why the animosity between you and Kelly?
Despite the fact that the Damiani company bears her name, it's as much my company as it is hers. I want it to succeed.
And she doesn't?
She wants it to succeed for herself. That doesn't always equal success for the company.
You said the Damiani company is as much yours as it is Kelly's, but you two aren't the only partners. There's also Edward Brandt. I understand he owns a sporting goods store in the downtown area, and that he sponsored both your teams during your playing days.
That's right. Have you spoken to him?
Not yet. How did he and Kelly get along?
Fine as far as I know, but we'll talk more about it at 2 o'clock. I really do need to finish this.
I let Wilbert escort me to the door, then spent a few minutes with his secretary. I'd hoped she might be able to shed some light on a few things, but the only thing she seemed to know how to do was mangle my name.
Oh, see you later, Joey.
Item number 7, 5 cents. I put in a call to Kelly and reported on my progress so far. I told her that I'd be meeting with Wilbert later in the afternoon for a follow-up discussion.
Just remember, he's the one who forged my signature.
How can you be sure? What about your other partner, Edward Brandt?
Impossible. It could only have been Wilbert.
Perhaps, but I wouldn't rule out either partner.
Trust me on this, Johnny.
We talked for another minute or so, but she didn't elaborate. Granted, Stephen Wilbert seemed to have more to gain from the sale of the Damiani Diamond because he was in real estate, but Edward Brandt might benefit as well. In my book, in a case like this, either partner is equally under suspicion. Item number 8, 40 cents. Taxi to the Kirby Motel. I checked in and went up to my room to rest a bit and consider what I'd learned so far. Little did I realize that events were about to take an ugly turn.
And now, Act 2 of
Johnny Dollar.
It's Kelly. Johnny, I need your help.
What's happened?
Stephen Wilbert is dead, and they've arrested me for his murder.
I'll be right down. Item number 9, 40 cents. Taxi to Houston's police headquarters in the office of a Lieutenant Neil Ryan, lead investigator on the case. Ryan, a wiry man of about 50, offered me a seat and a lousy cup of coffee.
You say you're here in connection with the Kelly Damiani case?
That's right.
You're a lawyer?
No, sir. She hired me to investigate an internal matter at her company.
What sort of internal matter?
It concerned the possible sale of the Damiani Diamond. What happened?
We got an anonymous phone call reporting shots fired at Stephen Wilbert's office. A patrol unit in the vicinity responded and found Miss Damiani with the body.
What did she have to say?
She claims she received a telephone call from Mr. Wilbert's secretary asking her to meet him at 1 o'clock. She claims she arrived a few minutes before the officers did and that Mr. Wilbert was already dead.
Did you find a weapon?
Not yet, but it won't be too difficult. She didn't have much time to hide it.
I don't think she ever had it. Have you talked to Mr. Wilbert's secretary?
Yes, she never made that call. In fact, at the same time Miss Damiani claims she received that call, Mr. Wilbert's secretary was at the dentist having a cavity filled. She left for her appointment shortly after you concluded your meeting with Mr. Wilbert.
That doesn't mean Kelly didn't receive a call from somebody.
It's possible, Dollar, But don't make things more complicated than they are. We know Miss Damiani and Mr. Wilbert had several disagreements lately. She had both motive and opportunity.
What motive? How could she benefit from this?
Are you for real, Dollar?
100%. Listen, Lieutenant, Kelly asked me to look into that internal matter I mentioned because she wanted to lessen the amount of negative publicity that might result. Getting herself arrested for murder is hardly the way to lessen negative publicity.
Obviously, she didn't plan to be caught. It was just her own bad luck that she was.
Or someone else's conveniently good luck. Have you interviewed Edward Brandt, the other owner?
What for? He wasn't discovered in the room moments after the shooting. Miss Damiani was.
Come on, Lieutenant. Don't you find it awfully convenient that your people got a call about a shooting at just the right time?
We get calls all the time. Sometimes they come at just the right time, and sometimes they don't. This was one of those right times.
It's too pat. Too easy.
All right, Dollar. You tell me what happened. What's this internal matter all about?
Bingo. He probably thinks he orchestrated the conversation to get to this point. Let him. I'd have told him in any event, but I let him think I was giving up the information reluctantly. I suppose under the circumstances, it won't hurt to tell you. I mentioned the possible sale of the Damiani Diamond. Are you familiar with it?
Sure. My daughter played there last year. She'll be disappointed to hear about the sale.
So was Kelly. She hired me to find proof that Stephen Wilbert had forged her signature on the documents authorizing the sale.
Did you?
I think so. I'll probably need a handwriting expert to confirm it, but I saw the papers this morning. Kelly's signature on the document authorizing the sale was exactly the same as her signature on another document.
It sounds like you're only proving the signature is genuine.
I don't think so, Lieutenant. Take a look at this.
Why are you showing me this? It's just a piece of paper with your signature written over and over again. So what?
They're not the same. I signed my name 8 times on that sheet, one after the other, but they don't match. You can tell they were all done by the same hand, but the shapes of the letters are slightly different each time. But the 2 signatures I saw were exact matches.
Well, I'll be. Let me try it myself. Well, what do you know about that? Okay, so it does raise doubts about Miss Damiani's signature on that document. It doesn't prove, however, that she didn't kill Mr. Wilbert. If she knew he had done this, why didn't she come to us?
As I said, she wanted to avoid negative publicity, and perhaps she'd intended to confront him with the proof once I'd gotten it, and made him admit what he'd done.
And maybe she didn't want to wait that long.
Then why bring in an outside investigator?
Because she still wanted to get proof the signature was phony.
And then make herself the prime suspect in his murder? Come on, Lieutenant. That doesn't make any sense.
Murder never does, Dollar. You've raised several good points, but none of them are strong enough to warrant her release. I'm sorry.
I thanked Lieutenant Ryan for his time, then went to see Kelly in her cell.
I appreciate the effort, Johnny, but the police won't let me go just on your say-so. Whoever framed me did too good a job.
Do you have any idea who it was?
Not a one.
Lieutenant Ryan tells me you got a call from Mr. Wilbert's secretary asking you to meet him.
Yeah, that's right. She said he wanted to talk to me about the Damiani Diamond. I thought you might have persuaded him that he was caught and wanted to admit what he'd done.
He denied forging your signature.
Well, it was a faint hope.
You're sure it was Mr. Wilbert's secretary who phoned you?
Well, the call was so short, and I don't know her voice absolutely, but it sounded like her. She called me Katie, and she has a habit of mangling people's names.
I've noticed. When I spoke to you on the phone earlier, you said it could only have been Stephen Wilbert who forged your signature. Why?
You haven't met Mr. Brandt yet, have you?
No. Why?
He only has one arm, his left. I'm right-handed. You can't forge a right-handed signature with the left hand.
He could have hired someone. For that matter, Mr. Wilbert could have as well. Why are you so sure he did it himself?
I just know.
Just like that, huh?
Pretty much. Like I said before, I don't have proof, but I know. You know how you can tell when someone is lying? It's like that.
Okay. I'll see what I can learn from Mr. Brandt. He has the most to gain with Mr. Wilbert dead and you in jail.
I know, but I can't believe he would kill anyone.
If he didn't, I'll find out who did. Keep your chin up. You'll be out of here in no time. Item number 10, 40 cents. Taxi to Brandt's Sporting Goods. The store had the typical southwestern appearance one thinks of when picturing Texas buildings. Of course, I doubt many of them have large door handles shaped like baseball bats. As I stepped into the store, I heard the sounds of a baseball game coming over the radio. A tall, muscular, gray-haired man in his early 60s stood behind the counter, talking with a customer. I saw that his right arm was missing. With his left, he switched off the radio.
I'll be right with you.
While Brandt finished with a customer, I took in his shop. Besides the usual sporting goods, along the wall behind the counter were photos of what I assumed were some of the local softball teams. I wondered which one Kelly had been on.
Now, how may I help you?
My name is Johnny Dollar, Mr. Brandt. I'm an investigator hired by Kelly Damiani to look into the proposed sale of the Damiani Diamond.
An investigator? What exactly are you investigating?
The forgery of Miss Damiani's signature on the papers authorizing the sale.
Forgery? Well, you're not suggesting that I...
No, sir. No, sir, I'm not. Miss Damiani hired me to find evidence that Mr. Wilbert, your other partner, was responsible.
Oh, I can't believe he would do such a thing. Did you find any evidence?
I don't have any conclusive proof yet as to who was responsible, but I do have evidence her signature was forged.
Oh, that's terrible. Believe me, Mr. Dollar, if I'd even suspected her signature wasn't legitimate, I would never have signed that document. Personally, I have no wish to see the property sold, but I figured if both my partners were in favor of it, well, who was I to object? I should have called Kelly and talked to her about it before I signed.
Her signature was already on the paper when you signed it?
That's right. Mr. Wilbert came over with it himself.
I was led to understand from the company's attorney, Mr. Walter, that such documents are either kept at his office or in the bank's vault.
Oh, once they're signed, absolutely, sure, but it isn't always possible for me to get down to Mr. Walter's office. That particular day, for instance, I had to work late. Excuse me. Brent Sporting Goods. Howdy. Lou, thanks for calling me back. About that Cardinals game next week, I want you to put me down for What do you mean? Now look, I assured Mr. Wilkins that everything would be settled by the end of the week. It will be, Lou. Are you listening to me? Lou, I don't.
Brandt slammed down the phone so hard I was surprised it didn't break in half. Dissatisfied customer?
Yeah, something like that. He had a problem with some team uniforms. I told him the new ones would be ready by the end of the week. No charge, but there's no pleasing some people.
And the baseball game?
Oh, we're just trying to convince a friend to make a trip to St. Louis to see the Cardinals. Ball game isn't quite as good unless you see it in person, don't you think?
I know just what you mean. You were saying that Mr. Wilbert brought the papers to you?
That's right. I mean, we had some other business to discuss as well, so we decided to take care of both matters at once.
I decided to throw him a curveball and see how he reacted. Mr. Wilbert is dead.
What? How?
He was killed earlier today at his office. The police have arrested Kelly.
Oh, that's insane. She can no more kill someone than I can pitch right-handed. Well, why do they think she shot him?
She received a message to come to his office, ostensibly from his secretary. When she arrived, she found him dead. The police arrived moments later.
And because of the forgery, they believe she shot him? That's unbelievable.
Can you think of anyone else who might have had a reason to see Mr. Wilbert dead? Did he have any gambling debts, things like that?
Well, I think he played the horses a few times, but then he didn't confide in me about his personal life. This conversation is very unsettling, Mr. Dollar. To think that one of our partners could have betrayed us with that forged signature. It's unbelievable.
Yes, it is. Thank you, Mr. Brandt. You've been most helpful.
I'm only sorry I can't be more helpful. And then please be sure to tell Kelly that I will have the document authorizing the sale of the Damiani Diamond torn up at once.
I'm sure she'll appreciate that. Thank you. Item 11, 5 cents. Call to Lieutenant Ryan. Something Brandt had said had set off alarm bells in my head, and I wanted to run my theory past Ryan. We agreed to meet at Zachary's place, item 12, 40 cents taxi there, where I got myself and Lieutenant Ryan some decent cups of coffee. That's item 13, 45 cents.
All right, Dollar, spill. What's got you all worked up?
I told Edward Brandt that Stephen Wilbert had been killed. He acted surprised, but he asked why the police thought Kelly had shot him. So, I didn't say how he'd been killed, only that he had been.
Well, that doesn't prove anything. Lots of people are killed with guns. Could have been an educated guess.
Perhaps. Or he could know because he's the killer.
Look, Dollar, I know you want to help a friend, but Kelly Damiani was found in the room with the victim.
And without a weapon. Did you do a paraffin test for gunpowder residue? I'm willing to bet you didn't find any. Oh, this is far from an open and shut case, Ryan.
No, you're right, we didn't. But that doesn't prove either her innocence or Brandt's guilt.
Maybe not. But while I was in his shop, he got a phone call. He told me it was about both a problem with some team uniforms and seeing a Cardinals game. But that's not how it sounded to me. It sounded like he was trying to place a bet, but couldn't because of some outstanding debts. Debts he claimed would be settled by the end of the week.
And?
What if he killed Wilbert because of those gambling debts? Maybe he was embezzling from the Damiani company to pay for them, and Wilbert found out.
Well, then why not tell Miss Damiani about it? Why would Wilbert forge her signature on the sale papers?
I don't know, Lieutenant. I'm just taking a shot in the dark here, but it feels right.
Well, you realize you've yet to provide me with any solid proof of anything you're saying.
I know, but think about it. You know, I once had a case that centered on an old Latin saying, "Qui bono." Know it?
Yeah, it means who benefits.
Exactly. Who benefits in this case? If Kelly goes to prison for Stephen Wilbert's murder, Edward Brandt has sole control of the Damiani company. With those papers authorizing the sale of the Damiani Diamond signed, Brandt might be able to raise enough money to clear his debts.
Maybe. And maybe Stephen Wilbert had the gambling debts and forged Miss Damiani's signature for the same motivation you attribute to Edward Brandt, to raise money. She found out and killed him.
Does Edward Brandt have any gambling history? Any urgent debts?
I'm not aware of any, but I asked my people to look into it after getting your call. I still think you're barking up the wrong tree.
I happen to like that tree, Lieutenant. If you take a good look at it, I think you'll grow to like it too. Now, if you'll excuse me, I need to make a phone call. Item 14, 5 cents. Call to Russell Walter from a payphone in the restaurant lobby. I had an uncomfortable feeling about something and wanted to find out if I was right. Walter wasn't thrilled to hear from me, but he confirmed what I'd suspected. I rejoined Lieutenant Ryan a few minutes later.
Bad news?
I could say that. I just got off the phone with Russell Walter, the attorney for the Damiani company. He said Edward Brandt called him a while ago and authorized him to move forward with the sale of the Damiani Diamond, but Brandt had told me he would instruct Walter to tear up that document.
Did he say why Brandt wanted to go ahead with the sale?
Yes, to pay for Kelly's defense.
And you don't believe that?
Not for a moment.
Well, you know something, Dollar? Neither do I. I'm still not convinced that Kelly Damiani didn't kill Stephen Wilbert, but I'm beginning to think Edward Brandt isn't entirely innocent either. Come on.
I returned with Lieutenant Ryan to police headquarters, where he checked to see if his officers had uncovered anything about Edward Brandt's gambling debts. They had. Brandt had gotten in over his head a few years ago, and while he seemed to have cleaned up his act, I knew that gamblers, like alcoholics, could have relapses. But we still didn't have any proof that Brandt had been responsible for the murder. But if Lieutenant Ryan would play along, we might not need it.
Do you know what you're asking, Dollar? If this doesn't work, I'll be back pounding a beat.
The exercise will do you good, Lieutenant. It'll work. It has to. Half an hour later, Kelly Damiani and I strolled into Brandt's sporting goods. Brandt did a double take as he saw her.
Kelly? What are you doing here? I mean, how did you get out of jail?
They released me. They found proof that I wasn't guilty.
What sort of proof?
The gun. The killer didn't hide it as well as he thought he had. The police found it and traced it to its owner.
They have?
Yep.
I see.
I don't understand you. Why did you kill Stephen?
I didn't intend to kill him, Kelly, but I didn't have any choice. He was going to tell.
Of course you had a choice. Stephen Wilbert found out you had embezzled from the company to feed your gambling addiction, didn't he? You thought he was going to expose you.
Yes. I was sure he would. I would get a lucky break and could win back all the money I'd lost, but I didn't. Stephen said he'd help me. That's why he forged your signature, Kelly. Stephen told me we could pay back my withdrawal from the company with the proceeds from the sale.
So the company would be solvent again.
Well, he promised Kelly would never learn what I'd done, but I came to his office this morning while you were there, Mr. Dollar, and I overheard him talking with you. I knew he was going to tell you the truth when you came back this afternoon. So I waited until you and his secretary left.
Then you shot Stephen Wilbert and framed Kelly. Why?
I didn't want to shoot him, but I had no choice. As for the rest, I panicked. I had to do something, so I called Kelly and pretended to be Stephen's secretary. I can pitch my voice pretty high, and end reception can be pretty bad on Stephen's phones. I knew Kelly would never be convicted. I am so sorry.
I should think you are.
I hadn't heard him come in, even though I knew he'd been waiting outside. You heard?
Every word. Edward Brandt, you're under arrest for the murder of Stephen Wilbert.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. I'm sorry, Kelly. I never meant for any of this to happen.
Yeah, you should have thought of that sooner, Brandt. Hold out your hands.
I'm sorry, too. You should have talked to me. None of this was necessary.
Will you be all right, Kelly?
I'll survive. It's so sad, though, and so pointless. The three of us could have worked something out.
And the Damiani Diamond?
We'll continue. I'll make up the lost money some other way. One way or another, the Damiani Diamond will endure.
Of that, I had no doubt. The police found the gun a day or two later, and as I'd suspected, it had been Edward Brandt's. Good thing he hadn't called our bluff about it in the store. In a way, I felt sorry for him. He hadn't planned to hurt anyone, nor had Stephen Wilbert. He'd believed he could save the Damiani company by selling the Damiani Diamond, even though the cost would have been the loss of Kelly's friendship and respect. Sometimes I wonder about people's motivations. Expense account total, including airfare back to Hartford, $157. Total after expense adjustment, $0. Yes, I could have used the money, but Kelly needed it more than I did. It helped keep her softball training camp running. And in the end, that's more important than an expense account. Yours truly, Johnny Dollar.
Yours truly, Johnny Dollar, starring Pete Fernbaugh, comes to you transcribed live. Tonight's script, The Damiani Diamond Matter, is copyright by Patrick Keating and dedicated to his cousin Kelly. With the exception of Johnny Dollar, all characters and incidents are the invention of the author. Heard in tonight's cast were Kristen James, Norman and Denise Klein, Caleb Fisher, Lefty Rosenthal, and Glenn Hascall. This is Larry Grovey speaking.
come to the end of another Project Audion episode. As the gentleman just announced, our cast this time included Pete Fernbaugh in West Virginia, Kristen James in California, Glenn Hascall in Kansas, Lefty Rosenthal in Toronto, Canada, Caleb Fisher in Virginia, and Norman and Denise Klein in Kentucky. The script was by Rick Keating, and this episode was scored, produced, directed by yours truly, Larry Groby in Texas. If you appreciate our efforts, please like us and share it so that others can watch or listen. And until next time, thanks for listening.
Yeah, I'm
At
a little
least you
disappointed that it went so well for the first round. I was hoping we'd have to do it a second time. Second take.
Well, we can always take a vote if you want to do it again. But I'm pretty pleased with what we got. So, and now, but if you want to show of hands and everybody says, "Do you want to do it again, just for fun?" We will do it again. I don't see.
Well, that's big.
Caleb?
Okay.
That's a.
I think it was perfect.
Yeah,
Yes,
it was fine.
Very good.